Could Hypergryph just have kind of alluded to Arknights Enfield coming out very, very soon in the live stream today, but not actually said it? If you did notice, when they got to the part of the stream where they were talking about the gacha systems within the game, if you looked at the top right, they do say paid features are going to be available inside mainland China for beta test 2. Not for us in global, but within China, there's going to be paid features. This means some specific things within CN that could really allude to the fact that the game is coming very, very soon. And it also changes some of the things they can and technically can't do if they want to keep on the good side of the regulators going forward also. And this goes in tandem with the situation that we saw not long ago from IGN. They did a sponsored article and a sponsored tweet sponsored by Gryphline for Arknights Enfield. And then at the very end of that thread, there was what looked like a poorly written, drunken tweet saying that the beta was now available and the game would be out in early 2026. Now, well, we know there's a beta coming now, so that was partially true. And I'm starting to think that the second part of that tweet was pretty much true as well. Because then we can move on to the Apple showcase, where it looks like Hypergryph are having a close partnership with Apple, because we saw in the stream today the game running on the iPhone 17. And they showed off Arknights Enfield running on the iPhone and at their Expo. And in the footnotes, if you look closely, it said the game was going to be launching early 2026. When it comes to companies saying early, that usually means Q1, Q2. Q1 is considered early, so the first 3 months of the year. So with that in mind, that kind of pushes us towards thinking, okay, 2 separate companies, both saying the same thing, both had communications with Hypergryph. Maybe information was passed over to them that was never supposed to be privy to the public, but kind of got leaked because maybe Hypergryph didn't communicate right. Because the fact that both companies let it go out, it makes me think that maybe the problem was that Hypergryph maybe didn't say, look, just don't put that out there. Because I would think, especially with Apple, they would probably need to know when the game is sort of coming out, especially if they're advertising it with their new phone, because, you know, they're going to probably want to know that sort of stuff in regards to what they're advertising. Is it worth showing off with their mobile device if it never comes out, or it comes out in 5 years' time, let's say? But with that all in mind, we saw that there was going to be paid features. And what does that mean? So, when a game in China has paid features in a beta, it is considered commercial activity. It's looked upon as technically a soft launch of the game. It's seen as out in a sense, although it's not technically regulatory, and under the law it's kind of considered as actually out. So a paid beta is the launch as previously established in China. Now this, like, it's not completely factual. It has interpretations in regards to how this regulation works in China. So a paid beta and monetized test is legally considered a commercial operation, meaning it's treated as the game's formal market entry. And once a paid beta begins, the game is technically launched. So what does that mean? Well, technically, that means this should probably be the final beta, and more than likely the final paid beta, because if they stop this beta that has payments enabled and then start up a new beta that has payments enabled, that's considered a irregular publication, basically, because it's violating the spirit of continuous operation, because the game starts its commercial operation, then ends, then starts again, then ends. So the one launch rule, the underlying principle, is that once a product is commercially available, even in a beta phase, it is considered published. Repeatedly launching and then pulling a product from the market is viewed as irregular operation, which can draw scrutiny from authorities. Potential consumer protection issues as well, so charging players and taking the game offline, then charging a new set of players again later, it's considered a bit irregular. And obviously, as a game developer, you don't want to be, especially in a place like China, and anywhere really, regulators are not people you want to get on the wrong side of. And as a company that's trying to publicate something, you do not want those guys coming down on you. So, even though technically, when you look at it, the interpretation doesn't necessarily say you can't, it's stonewall, that you can't have another beta. it would be considered irregular. Now, in practice, soft launch is common. A single continuous soft launch, so you have a pay beta that just seamlessly runs into the launch and it never kind of ends, and then the game's out. We're not getting that. We're going to have a cessation to this beta, but it makes me think it's not going to be a long stop in the service before we see the launch of the game. And again, you should avoid repeated closures. So to avoid regulatory issues, developers generally aim for a single paid beta that leads directly to permanent commercial availability of the game. And they do not typically run a paid beta, shut it down entirely for an extended period, and then start another separate beta test. So in summary, while there isn't a rule explicitly saying you can only have one paid beta, the operational reality, which is usually the truth really, and legal framework treat the first paid beta as a formal launch, making the idea of running multiple distinct start and stop paid betas risky and potentially non-compliant. So, with that being said, does that mean that we are going to be seeing the game? Well, we are going to see it, but does it mean we're going to see it within that time? Maybe not. But typically, the common practice, once this happens, it usually between 1 to 3 months is when you will see the game launch. So where does that bring us? Really, the end of Q1 2026. This game's going to be starting beta in November, end of November. If it runs for a couple of weeks, we're mid-December. Come to March, we're talking 3 and a bit months. 3.5 months, give or take. So it makes me think Q1 2026, it lines up with the common practices. It lines up with the regulatory framework, although technically not illegal or against the regulations to ignore that, but considered irregular. And then the IGN tweet, the Apple Expo, it all roads lead to one, in my opinion. Now, none of this is facts. And again, things can change, delays can happen. But if they're starting to take people's cash, it would make sense that it's going to happen soon. And if you put all these things together, it makes me believe that Q1 2026, we're getting the game. I've been saying it for months, so I'm not saying anything new. But maybe now there's a little bit more evidence piling up. I said there was going to be a beta. You laughed at me then. You're not laughing now, are you? So, yeah. Hopefully, because I want to play the game. And hopefully I'll get in the freaking beta as well. Because I'm not going to lie, I'm so disappointed that it's not open. Because I just want to play it. But hopefully I'll get in. But yeah, I think we're going to be playing this game in full launch within the next 4 months or so, guys. Okay? So, let me know what you think. Am I completely bonkers here? Am I totally misinterpreting the regulations within China? I'd love to know what you think down below. If you've enjoyed the video, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you all in the next one. Thorugh.